Continuing with this little series of how to do similar actions within Bubble and Dittofi, I'm going to be showing you how to show and hide elements in the two tools. So again, here in Bubble, you can see I've got a button and some text. Now, ultimately, I want this text to be hidden, and then I want it to be visible when I click the button. You can see I've got the same setup over here in Dittofi. So in Bubble, if I go into the Bubble editor, to be able to hide this text, you can simply click on, excuse me, this little the checkbox to make it not visible when the page is loaded. I'm going to actually do something a little bit different. And on this group, I'm going to set a state, and I'm going to name this state text is visible. This is going to be a yes/no. I'm going to create it, and the default value is going to be no. Okay. And then for the conditional for this text, I'm going to say when group elements text is visible is no, this element is visible, and I'm going to uncheck this. Okay. So if I go over here and reload this, you can see that the text isn't visible. So in Dittofi, what I'm going to do is create a variable and call this text is visible. And I'm going to make this a checkbox, and I'm not going to check it, which will default it to false. Hit save. Then when I'm going to come up to my paragraph and go to the settings, and for whether or not I want to show it, I'm going to bind this to a variable and say text is visible. So when text is visible is true or checked, this should show. So I'm going to rebuild the app. All right, I'm going to go over here and reload. And you can see the text is hidden. Okay, perfect. So we're in the same state on both. So now what I want to do for Bubbles, I want to go to this button, and I want to do start edit workflow. And when this button is clicked, it's simple as saying, okay, so for element actions, I want to set a state. And this is going to be group elements, text is visible, and I want this to be yes. Okay, and so my condition should be met, and this should now be visible when the button's clicked. So we load, we click the button, the text is shown. So in Dittofi, it's pretty similar. So I would go into front-end actions. I would create a new front-end action. I'm going to call this show text. And all I'm going to do here, I'm going to add an event that says variable set field. And I'm going to say, I need to do one thing first. Let me delete this. I need to add a variable here that is called is visible. Actually, I can make it even easier. Let's call it checked. I don't think I have anything named checked. And we'll do a checkbox there, and we'll say it's true. So now when I go to add my event, I can simply say variable set field. The variable I want to say is text is visible, and I want that value to be true, which is currently what this variable is. I would love for Dittofi to be able to let me just add yes or no here, or true or false, as opposed to having to create a variable to do that. But for now, this is what you would do. So I'm going to save that. And I like to view my code just to make sure that it's doing everything I want. So yes, saying that to true. So I'll go back, select this button. I'm going to put a workflow action on it. And on click, I'm going to say show text. Okay, so I'm going to build the code. And so now if I go over here and reload, click on my button, the text is visible. So very similar interactions between this workflow and the Dittofi front end action, right? So if I look here, again, very similar. Now, let's say I want to do a few more fancy things. Let's say I want to change this text to reflect um, if the text is visible or not. So change the button text to say that, and also to hide on a subsequent click if the text is visible. So in Bubble, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to then I'm going to go to the design, and if I go into the button itself, I'm going to do a conditional, and I'm going to say when text is visible is yes, then I want the text to say hide text, okay? And I'm going to go back to my workflow, and I only want to run this when group elements text is visible is no, okay? So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste another one here. And this one I'm going to say is yes. And on this one, I'm going to set this to no. Okay, so let's see what that gives us. So I'm going to show text, it says hide text. I click this, the text goes away, and it says show text. So that's working just like I want. So in Dittofi, there's a couple of things I need to do. So first, on my button here, in terms of the text, I'm going to need to show a variable instead of actual just plain text here. So I'm going to go in and create another variable, and I'm going to call this show text. I'll call this button text, and the expression will be show text. I'm going to save. Going to go in, I'm going to, instead of text here, I'm going to bind this to a variable, and this is going to be button text. Okay. Now on my front end action, I want to go in here and I want to add an input variable, and this is going to be text is visible, and this is going to be a checkbox. So let me say this, is visible. That's going to be a text box. And so now I actually want to, I'm going to delete this action just altogether. And I'm going to add a new event. I'm going to say this is a condition. And my condition is going to be if is visible is equal to checked. I'm going to add an event inside this. So essentially, if the item is visible, I want to do a couple of things. I want to set my button text, and I need to have a value to set here. So I need to create a couple of variables. So I want to go in here and create, let's see, button text visible. So my text when the button is visible is or when the text is visible, is hide text. Okay. I'm going to add another variable, and this is going to be button text not visible. And this will be show text. I'm going to create one more, and this is going to be unchecked. This is going to be a checkbox, and I don't want it to be checked. So I'm going to save. Let's see. Go back into, okay, it's all good there. So now, when I go and add my event here, what I want to do is I want to set a field, and my variable I want to set as button text. And remember the condition here. The condition is if the button is visible. So just let me go back through this. So if the button is visible, oops, not a condition. I want to set my button text, and the value I want to set it to would be button text visible. Again, I think if Dittofi let us put my own text in here so I didn't have to create variables for this, that would be super helpful. But that's what I do for now. I'll add another event. Oh, I didn't save this. This is also a bit of a thing I don't like, is it doesn't save, but that's completely on me. So I want to set this field, and I'm going to set my button text, and it's going to be button text visible. Okay. So hit OK. Save, hopefully, so I don't. And then on this one, I also want to then set my variable of text is visible. Set that to I want to set it to if it's visible. The goal here is to change it, so I want to set it to unchecked. Then save. And then I also wish I could copy and paste this, because I basically need to do the same thing, but sort of the inverse. So I need to create another condition. And the condition will be if is visible is equal to unchecked. Then I want to set my variable button text to button text not visible. And I want to set field of text is visible to checked. So hopefully got that all configured correctly. So I'm going to save. I'm going to go back to, let's see, button text. And I go over here to the workflow action, because now I have to pass in is visible. And I'm going to pass in text is visible. Okay. Let me go look at one thing real quick on my front end actions here. Text is visible. Text, okay. Just wanted to make sure that I was setting the right variable. So I'm going to build code, and hopefully if I put all the conditions and text in the right place, this will all be set. So let me go in here, let me reload. So show text, nothing's visible. Text to show. So obviously I got my text wrong. So if I go back to my front end action, and here I want to say this one, I want to set this to button text not visible, save it, and this is button text visible. So I got those backwards. Sorry about that. But now if I build, and I go back and I reload, show text, hide text, show text, hide text. So the same functionality. Now, again, as you can see, there's a few things that the same functionality is easily achieved. There are a few things that make it a little more cumbersome in Dittofi, right? The fact that I have to create variables instead of being able to pass in values myself is one thing I would love for them to look at changing. I'd love to be able to, copy and paste, certain actions or components here, so you didn't have to essentially recreate the same thing over and over. But definitely, the same actions are achievable. And again, I think I've been working with Dittofi for about 24 hours now. So certainly, as you get comfortable with this moves a lot quicker. But you can see that ultimately, same functionality is easily achieved in both tools. So thanks for watching.